And McGill versus Kershaw tonight in their fifth meeting that starts at 10:10 on TBS, if you can find it.
CBS Sports, CBS Sports Net.
TBS.
Oh, TBS. TBS Sports.
Yeah.
Is that TBS Net? Maybe TNT, True Live?
I'm going to have to go through all four of those channels to find it. But 38-22 Mets versus the 36-24. But let's talk more about the Colorado Rockies. Took them 60 games.
Woo!
60, count them, to get their 10th win. And when I mentioned that to someone today, they were shocked. And literally, I'm not joking here. My wife has sold more houses in May than the Rockies have won. So that just shows you how poorly the Rockies and how well my wife is at selling houses. But, my point is, we talked about this with Scotty Scheffler. He's won more tournaments. I hope they have a better June. I hope that they can understand that, listen, even though you're looking across from teams that look like they're built better than you, that spent more money, you're still baseball players. You can still manufacture runs. You can still play defense. You can still hustle. The one thing that I love Marshall Falk for saying is the one talent, or the most valuable asset you can have that has no talent involved is effort. And you have to start giving a better effort. And no, you're in the major leagues. You're one of 30 teams. And I played on some bad teams, but you have to show up and expect to win instead of going there and hoping not to lose. That's an awful mindset. So I think a lot of teams are pulling for the Rockies because it's bad for the sport when you have part of the sport, that product is this poor. And it's awful. It's a bad watch. We were watching a day game a couple of weeks ago. They made like 3 or 4 errors in one inning. And it was really like stuff, if you just went over this before the game or really paid attention to details, and these details are baseball-orientated details, you'd be much better players, and you don't have to be on the same par as the Dodgers, even though you're in the same division, or the Padres, or the Arizona Diamondbacks or Giants, but you can play just as hard as them every night. There's no cause not to have a great effort out of each one and every one of those guys.
It was their catcher who showed up last night, Hunter Goodman, a guy that we've kind of grown up with here because we saw him so much with the Yard Goats. And I love this guy too. And in Double-A, this guy was a legit 4th-round pick that's on the come up. And I don't know what it is that infects these guys in the course of the ball game, but he had 3 hits last night. Yep. So did Tyro Estrada, who's only had a handful of at-bats so far, but so far so good. He is a guy that they've brought up early because they're kind of sick of waiting on some of these guys. I've never been a Michael Toya fan. He was a Yard Goat for 3 or 4 years. I saw more golden sombreros, meaning 4 strikeouts in an 0 for 4 day than I've ever seen anyone do. And they kicked him to the curb last night, did not put him in the lineup. I think they're getting sick of it.
Well, I also think you'd agree with me the Chris Bryant signing was an awful signing.
I think Chris Bryant would agree with that.
Yeah, and some of these guys that they've tried to spend money on, that's back for. But the giving up of Nolan Arenado and adding $50 million on top of that, it was disgusting and despicable, and got O'Dowd fired and sent them on a downward spiral. But you even look like today against Alcantara, which obviously they're not in the same division as the Marlins. You've got 4 guys in your lineups that's never faced him. So there's 4 out of your 9 guys that have never been on the same field with this cat, other than maybe a minor league game, but I doubt it because Alcantara's been in the big leagues for 6 years.
Right.
So Beck, Goodman, Doyle, and Freeman are these guys that now have to go out there and compete against this guy. So even if you could scratch out a hit apiece, that would be doing something because the other guys that have faced him are hitting 125, 200. Arcia is the only guy with any kind of numbers against him. He's got a home run, a couple of ribbies. He's 2 for 5 hitting 400. Farmer's 0 for 6. And then, was it Maniac? He's 1 for 6 with 2 Ks. That's not your situation, though. No matter who you're facing, you got to look in the mirror and be like, I'm a big leaguer. How am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to carry myself? When you carry yourself like a victim or a loser, you're going to have that mentality. And I don't care what Schaefer does to try to drill that out of you. It's already in some of these guys. They've gotten accustomed to losing where it's not a big deal. My thing is you should be embarrassed. You should feel shame.
Right.
I don't even know if some of these guys know what shame is anymore. striking out and just walking back to the dugout, grabbing your tablet and looking at it like, okay, it was another at bat. No, it wasn't. It could have been a guy on second with no outs and was unproductive at bat. There's always a reason for your failure. You have to the next time adjust and come back. Now you strike out again. Now you strike out again. Now you're 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and you haven't contributed at all on one half of the field. And so those are the kind of things that you can work on that stuff. You can move runners up. And listen, if it's a really, really tough pitcher, and Alcantara is one of the toughest, although he's having an awful year this year.
He's on a bad team, too, man.
He's on a bad team, and maybe he's just not motivated. This is where you get him, when he's on kind of a downward trend. And for me, getting him means guy on second, no outs. I'll bunt that dude to third. Let's scratch out a run here. Let's get in their heads. This is some of the stuff that I think will get the Rockies going in the other direction. But, I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. You needed 41 wins to get back to 500, 41 to 41. You need to win 41 in a row. Now you need to win 40 in a row just to get to 50 and 50.
Well, I'm remembering a lot from the 2024 Chicago White Sox in this first month or first couple of months. You could go back to,
I think, the 2006 or 7 Tigers that lost 119 games. They responded by adding like Pudge Rodriguez, Juan Gonzalez, Kenny Rogers. They responded by saying and drafting Verlander. Guys like they drafted some really good guys back then. So this you have to respond. The Rockies need to draft better. Stop coveting these players like they're amazing prospects until they've done anything.
Kernan brought that up yesterday. Yes. I think he hit the nail on the head.
But
there.
You need the right free agents to come in here. Some guys that have actually won championship rings that can walk through that door and not accept this stuff as being shameless and being like, it's okay, we're in the major leagues, I'm making a lot of money, so I don't care if we're 10 and 50. I couldn't imagine being 10 and 50. I would have lost my mind and almost every day been wanting to fight somebody so we could get out of this.
Well, the one thing I'm thinking, too, because I remember this from last year, when you played the White Sox last year, those were should-win ball games. Yep. And if you didn't win those ball games, it's like, shame on you. You lost to that team. I know there's 162, but nobody's losing to that team. And I think that now has come over to the Colorado Rockies clubhouse, that the Marlins probably last night, like Alcantara saying, we're not losing to these punks. We might lose to the Dodgers. We might lose to the Phillies. We ain't losing to these punks. And I think that is carrying over. And to me, McMahon, he's a Colorado Rocky all-star. He might not be a legit MLB all-star yet, but I think he's working his way there. Tovar is a great player. Hunter Goodman's up and coming for the catcher. I think they got pieces and they got players, but it's the attitude, man. It's the attitude of being losers. It's the attitude of being walked over, and I'm with you, man. It's the attitude of not caring about striking out and losing baseball games. And I think something's got to give, and maybe it was last night.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and build on that. Here's another thing. Okay, you're a third into the season, but you have to put those first 60 behind you and be like, the season starts today. Let's say it started yesterday, and go from there. We're 1-0 right now. Those 50 losses, we're not gonna keep carrying them around with us. We're gonna go into the month of June. And right now we're 1-0, or we're 1-1 in the month of June. I don't think they played 2 days ago because they were traveling to Miami. And that's the way you build. You have to, you can't keep looking back. Like the White Sox, honestly, I think the White Sox are better this year, even though they're trash as far as their lineup looks. These guys that are getting the opportunity are making the most of it. You're like, listen, every day is an audition for you to work in the major leagues. It's not a right, it's a privilege. And so you should be like, listen, if I want to play in the Rockies or some other major league team, I've got to show up every day and look like a major leaguer, act like a major leaguer, do major league things. That's the way you're going to keep your job at the major league level. So, yeah, there's going to be sweeping changes in the Rockies organization, but as a player, you can't worry about that stuff. All you can do is worry about how can I get better today and how can I make this Rockies club better today.
We got some really good pitcher matchups today, and it really starts with the first game of the night, 6:40 first pitch in Pittsburgh. It's a Skeens night.
Whoa!
Paul Skeens going up against Lance McCullers of Houston.
Who's faced a lot of adversity off the field
now
this year.
He's on the road, and he's going up against Skeens. I think he's going to get actually a friendly crowd. If these baseball fans of Pittsburgh, which I know they're pretty
classy,
astute,
yeah.
they're going to give him a warm welcome, even though he's the visiting starter. But I think this is a great game tonight. Great series. It's one of those interleagues I don't like, but I like this pitcher matchup more than anything. Hopefully both of them get some run support, but I'd take the Yenda.
I like the Guardians-Yankees matchup, man, and not just the pitchers.
I
mean, it's two good teams. They're very well
I just
coached.
like this series. I like these two teams getting together.
Because you might see them in the postseason against each other.
And
So
they
get
don't
used
like
to
each
it.
other.
No,
They don't like each other.
They shouldn't.
And
They shouldn't.
J. Ram is a Yankee killer. I do not want to miss any Ramirez at bats. I think he's so much fun to watch in Yankee Stadium too.
Absolutely.
But Bybee.
Bybee.
I think it's
Bybee. Okay, Bybee and Rodon go tonight. Rodon's really putting together a great start, and now with the Luke Weaver news, he might have to go even another inning deeper because they're losing arms there in Yankee Land.
I would want to, even watching the College World Series, watching these guys getting pulled out early and not winning games and not moving on because your script is to go right to the bullpen after a certain amount of pitches or a certain amount of innings, I think is foolish. So if Rodon looks great after 7 and he's at like 75 pitches, why would you think about taking him out of the game? Leave him in the game, see how long he goes. That's what a pitching coach's job is. That's what your manager's job is, to recognize when it looks like the mechanics are starting to falter and this guy looks tired. We're not even really into the dog days. I feel July and August where it's much hotter and you look out there and the guy's like drenched in sweat. There's sweat dripping off of the bill of his hat and you're like, he's done. He's exhausted, so let's get the bullpen in there.
3-7 in their last 10. The Boston Red Sox face, you say, I say, we all say,
Kikuchi!
Tonight, the Angels back at it. Kikuchi only 1-5, but Bayo, I love when Bayo throws.
Ryan Bayo.
I think Bayo's one of the better ones, too, and it's just kind of, it's taking a little bit to come off that injury at the beginning of this season and really get rocking, but they need to win, man, especially in their one-run losses that they have suffered, especially like last night, giving up 3, maybe not 3 home runs in the first, maybe just 1. Bayo.
Well, they were chasing the whole game.
Exactly.
And they actually came back. I think they made it, but they came back, made it 6-5 when I turned it over to something else, and College World Series or the softball. And at that point, I flip it back a second later. My wife's like, "Oh my God, they just gave up a home run and made it 7-5." It's like you can't. You there's certain points where you put up 4, you got to put up a goose egg, and as a pitcher. Listen, and they stayed with Dobbins for a long time, and yeah, he had to eat up a bunch of innings. But whether I'm coming out of the bullpen or whether I'm that starting pitcher that's gone through the lineup twice now and he's already given up 6 runs, you have to suck it up, dude. Your job is to hold the line, hold that game at 6-5, and give your team a chance. And I felt like you absolutely took the air out of that stadium when you made it a 7-5 game.
Your man Hunter Green is putting together a decent season so far. He's on tonight against Freddie Peralta of the Brewers, and Peralta has really bounced back.
It's a good rivalry that's happened since the Brewers came into the National League.
I like it, and I think they got a good one tonight with these 2 guys on the hill.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that Hunter Green now knows how to take something off his off-speed stuff. He changes speeds really well now, and he moves the fastball around. I mean, listen, he's a power guy that can throw upper 90s, but he doesn't have to throw upper 90s all the time. And as you get older, you've gone through Tommy John surgery, you learn a trick or two. And so to be 4-3 with a 2.6 could probably be 7-3 with a 2.6, but doesn't get great run support. And everything I read about the Reds with McLean and some of these other guys, listen, these guys are underachieving there too. And 29-32 at this point, they should be probably 5 or 7 games over 500. Terry Francona is doing everything he can possibly do to help this team. Listen, the worst news was over the weekend. Ellie De La Cruz's sister died, and his next at bat, he hit a bomb in Chicago.
Yeah.
But he's a very private guy when it comes to family. We've joked about his brother, his twin brother, is 5'8". And he's 6'5".
How's that happen?
But yeah, I mean, a death in the family sucks. But this team, you can rally around emotional stuff like that and maybe get going on the right track against the Brewers. It's a home game tonight for Hunter Green.
The most underachieving team in Major League Baseball to me, Baltimore Orioles.
Oh my God, you already got your manager fired.
It is not getting any better.
No.
That did not help.
No.
They're out west right now. They got Kirby for Seattle, who's having just an atrocious
This
start.
Shigano kid is the kid that I told you
They
about
need to
coming
lean
home
on
from
him.
Japan.
They need to lean on him.
They brought this guy in to eat up a lot of innings, and I'll tell you what. Listen, these are just his last 5 starts: 6 innings, 7 1/3, 6 1/3, 6, 5 1/3. Now he's given up a few runs. Doesn't walk a whole bunch of guys, but the team has won 2 of the 5 with the 3 losses. But that you brought this guy in not to be the ace, but to be like a 7-inning guy, and he's getting you close every time.
Mets go at it again with the Dodgers. Kershaw to start for the Dodgers. McGill on the other side. But Kershaw, man, that was like a necessity. Everybody thought it was like the last 3 or 4 years. Is he going to retire? Well, he's a Dodger. Let's just give him another contract, keep his parking spot in his locker. Dude, every single year they've had to lean on him somehow, some way in the regular season or in the postseason to get outs and tonight's the night.
Yeah, and he's got one of the best curveballs. So for young kids, you want to see like a Sandy Koufax type curveball or Steve Carlton type curveball, which are big name lefties in my life. Check out what Kershaw does. Nobody throws a better curveball than this guy. He's just lost a little velocity, but nobody is smarter at pitching. Listen, Padres Giants is going to be a great game. Twins Athletics in that minor league ballpark. But this one, to me, are 2 teams that I think are going to see each other in the postseason this year.
You might be looking at an
NLCS matchup.
Series
Absolutely.
preview.
Absolutely. And so, listen, Juan Soto's going to hit eventually. Just forget Juan Soto for a second. But look at what Lindor is doing. Look at what Alonso has done already this season, and hopefully before the season gets even later on in the second half of the season, you give Alonso an extension. Derrick Henry just got a big extension in Baltimore. You keep your veteran guys and your superstar players happy, and you worry about playing baseball. You certainly have an owner that could afford to keep Alonso in fold and not let him get away. That would be a huge loss if the Mets let Alonso opt out after the season.
I agree.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. David Benedict joined us earlier, and we talked about a lot of different subjects. So we'll talk to David Benedict, UConn Athletic Director, next. It's the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. We've got Nick Federico on our video on the YouTube channel. So thank you so much for keeping us on the air. We'll be right back.